All right. I thought it would be valuable to take a special look at the passing diminished chord and the function of the diminished chord. Like, how does it work? It's a chameleon. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a chameleon of a chord. It can be used in so many different ways, and I want to explore some of those gently today. I'm going to stick in the key of C because I want to get it to the point where you can play these things and you understand them. So I'm actually going to also talk about the fretboard and common fingers that will lead you to a place where you can actually play these chords. Okay. So let's start with just three diatonic chords, being, let's do C major 7, D minor 7, and E minor 7. Now, each of those chords, I call them diatonic because they come from the scale of C major, right? You can hear that. Okay, so those chords are are derived from the C major scale, so we call them diatonic. The passing diminished chords are not diatonic, and the first passing diminished chords that we're going to look at, the first one, is going to be the C sharp diminished. Now check this out. I leave these two fingers down like that, and I just switch these across, right? So it's nice, easy change. I get that chromatic bass line, right? And that other note that's dropping. Okay, and that leads to my... Okay, so I think that's nice movement. Right now, let's so the movement. I'm trying to concentrate a little bit on the fretboard. The movement here, finger movement, not the voice movement, is just very simple like this. We just rotate that finger 1 and 2, right? And then when we move to the minor 7, I just use my strong third finger to guide me to that minor 7. Watch. Common fingers, guide, and pivot on my 3, and I play that diminished again, leading me to the E minor. Right, so we have. Clearly, you can hear this. Right. Okay, passing diminished chords. Now, so I want you to get those underneath your fingers. I hope that was clear enough. The names that we want to call these, just going to call these C major and C sharp diminished 7, D minor 7, D sharp diminished 7th, and E minor 7. Keep in mind, though, that the diminished 7th chord is an equal division of the octave chord. That means that we've got 4 notes in that chord that are all equidistant, a minor third apart. So I can take any one of these diminished chords, and if I want to arpeggiate it, all I do is play consecutive minor thirds. that's a great exercise. I invite you to do that exercise. Consecutive minor thirds. But the only thing that makes it a little confusing sometimes is just that second string, which is tuned differently than the rest of them, right? Okay, yes. Now this is ascending: C major, C sharp diminished, D minor, D sharp diminished, E minor 7, right? But when we descend, I'll clarify this in a sec. When we descend, we don't do it the same way. We have to do this, and I'll explain it in a sec. E minor 7, E diminished 7, D minor 7, D diminished 7th, and C. Now, doesn't that sound right? Sure it does. On the way up, descending, and again when we're moving down, look at the common fingers. I've always got, that third finger is the big one. Yeah, the third finger is the big one. Common finger all the time. Common, and C. Okay, so now I was saying that I want to explain why it's different going up than it is going down. These chords, these diminished chords, are really function as secondary dominants. So on our way up, we have essentially this C sharp diminished is connecting the D minor chord, and so it is acting as an A7 flat 9, as an E7 essentially, or an altered A7 if you like, A7 flat 9. So I could do this. Right? So that in that case, I'm playing the related secondary dominants. C major, A7 going to its related 1 chord, B7 going to its related 1 chord of E minor. Okay, on the way back down, the same thing holds true, but in this case, what I'm doing when I'm moving down is this chord sort of morphs. Here is the 7th of the A7 chord, the 3 of the A7 chord, the flat 9 of the A7 chord, and the 5 of the A7 chord. Right? So really, it's just functioning as just functioning as an E7, doing this, going down. The other is functioning as a G7, classic turnaround. Get the idea, right? So instead of that classic turnaround as I just played, I'll do it again. I'll do 4 beats. Now you can see you can hear what's happening there is this sort of slightly hokey bass movement. But when we replace those secondary dominants with the passing diminished, you end up with a bass note that goes like this. There's not a whole bunch of movement in there. Yeah, lots of room for a bass player though. And so it gives you a different line on the way down than you would, and on the way up. And what you've got when you use the passing diminished is, of course, right? And you can mix those up. You can do combinations of those. So on the way up, right? These all become real, classic standard chord progressions. So those are just some simple passing diminished chords. Now, when you're using these, and don't try to go too far. Get that much underneath your fingers. When you're using these, try to connect them. For instance, with the diminished on the top four strings, such as we have this, or and then let's see. Sorry, I'm sorry. Passing. Let's do it this way. So, in other words, connect these diminished middle four strings to the top, and everything is always going to be a minor third, right, apart. So when I look at this connection, I just go up a minor third from there and build the top four. Yeah, you get the idea, right? That's sort of endless. And remember that to arpeggiate either the middle four string diminished or the top four string diminished, all you have to do is start anywhere on any of the notes of the diminished chord, and just start with minor thirds. You get the idea. And you can do that all over the fretboard, and it's a great exercise. And it'll start to break down the diatonic, the major scales that you might have underneath your fingers. Getting those minor thirds and the larger leaps like that is a great place to start expressing those passing diminished chords in a linear way. Okay. So I hope that was a practical help. I can't tell you how important getting these chords underneath your fingers is, and remember to follow some fundamental rules of common finger, guide finger, and pivot finger when you're making these changes, because later on, you're going to want to be able to get move around a little bit, and the more times you leave the fretboard, the worse it is. Now, when I say that, I mean, if we were taking a frame by frame shot of your left hand, how many times would we catch your left hand doing this? Being off the fretboard. That is that should go like a big buzzer. Like, no, don't do that, because as soon as you leave the fretboard, you're going to have to replant and start all over again, and you also lose those sustained notes. So always look for your common fingers, your guide fingers, and your pivot fingers. Okay. So chromatic movement on the way up and on the way down, and they're related to the secondary dominant chords. All right, so if that was a help to you, keep thinking of the diminished chord as a 5 chord. Think of the diminished chord as a dominant sound that resolves to either a 1 minor or a 1 major. Okay, and if that was a help, click subscribe or click, what's the other one now? Like, yeah, that's what it is. Good. Click like and leave us any questions or comments. They're much appreciated just to let us know if we're doing anything valuable here. And thanks for stopping by. See you soon.